I'm going to get you ready for your Chapter 2 quiz, which is tomorrow. And I'm just going to go in and apologize, but yours will always be the one on the board with the most quizzes and tests. But the good thing about that is usually my quizzes are short and sweet. They're not like the one that you had Friday. They're usually pretty short, 4, 5, 6 problems at the most, and we have lots of them. So that if you happen to not make a very good grade on 1 or 2, we usually have plenty to average that out. And don't forget to bring candy, because candy will get you 10 extra points on a quiz grade. So that always can help too. So here are your Chapter 2 quiz notes. And I want us to go over these together. It will be without a calculator. All right, the first thing that we're going to tackle is page 20 in your book. Number 3. We're going to do several together. Oh, yeah, okay. This one you put up for now. This is the P1. One's blue, one is, I guess, just like. All right, go ahead and write down 3A. You'll have to do these tomorrow without a calculator. So I believe, if I remember correctly, it's the square root of 18 plus the square root of 8. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the square root of 26? Yes or no? No. So we don't want to make that mistake tomorrow. So last week when I covered this, I made a point in telling you that you could not add these unless what?
You have the same
Have the same number under the radical. So you don't have the same number, which means we need to factor this. Now your calculator will do it for you, but you're not allowed to use a calculator right here. So we're going to factor tree this. And so I always start with 2 if 2 is possible. If 2 is not possible, then I try 3. So this is 2 times what? 9. 2 is in its lowest form. 9 gets factored to 3 and 3. So the rule of the house was that you can leave in pairs. Can't go by yourself. Do I have a pair of anything up here? Pair of 3s. What about this little 2?
goes inside.
It goes inside. So I can rewrite the square root of 18 as 3 square roots of 2. Now let's factor tree 8. So we'll start with 2 and 4, and 4 is 2 and 2. I have a pair of 2s. It doesn't matter where that pair lies. Next to each other at different branches, it doesn't matter. And I have a 2 that has to stay home. So that's 2 square roots of 2. So these are treated just as if they were variables, so to speak. So I have 3 square roots of 2. I'm adding 2 more square roots of 2. So I have 5 square roots of 2. Okay?
So, if like the first two, like the original problem was square root of 8 plus square root of 8, you just go ahead and add those, and that would be the answer, right?
Do what, oh, if that had been square root of 8
Yeah.
and square root of 8, then it would be 2 square roots of 8.
Okay.
And then you probably need to go in and break down the 8 as well, yeah. It needs to be broken down into its simplest form. All right, I want y'all to do 3B for me. Okay, so that square root of 3, can that be broken down any further? Because 3 is just 3 and 1, no pairs there, has to stay as square root of 3. So let's break down the 12. Now there are lots of ways to break down 12. You could do 3 and 4, 2 and 6. I like to keep it where I use the 2 or the 3, the smallest number first, so that I can see everything at the end of my branches. So that's 2 and 6. 6 breaks down to 2 and 3. You have a pair here. Now remember, I'm looking for things at the end of branches. I'm not looking at the 6 again because I further broke it down. 3 has to stay home. So I've got the square root of 3 plus 2 square roots of 3. So what's my final answer? 3 square roots of 3. Okay, for your homework, I want you to also do E and L. So mark those, please. Somewhere in your work, number 3 on page 20, you're also going to do E and L. Now, I need somebody to volunteer to read my brain tomorrow to go back over these before the quiz. I just need somebody to say, hey, Miss Knight, can we go back over these? Who's going to do that for me? Okay. Well, I'm just saying, if y'all want me to go over them, you might want to remember. Okay. So now we're going to look down at number 5 on the same page 20. Now, rationalizing. Now, I don't know, but the last period did not seem to have been taught how to do this. Does that seem to be true? That y'all have not learned to rationalize yet? That is true. That's what I'm getting them nodding. Okay, so let's look at this. This is 5A. Now, what's happening with 5A, and the reason why I don't like this is because I have a radical in the denominator. The radical is in the denominator, which is just a mathematically incorrect form. Okay? Nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's just not the proper format. So in order to rationalize, you take the denominator, the whole denominator, and you multiply it top and bottom. Okay? Because I have to multiply it by something that doesn't change it. So square root of 3 over square root of 3 is 1, so that really will not change anything. So 1 times square root of 3, square root of 3. What's square root of 3 times square root of 3? Square root of, multiply your insides, 9. What is the square root of 9? 3. That is how you rationalize. let's look at D. Okay, the problem with this is that there's a radical in the denominator. That's an improper format. So I have to rationalize. So what am I going to multiply by? Everything in the denominator, which is square root of 6. Now, remember, when you multiply, it's outside times outside, inside times inside. So, 6 times square root of 6 is 6 square roots of 6. It is not the square root of 36, because the 6 is not under the radical. All right, what's the square root of 6 times the square root of 6?
Square root of 36.
Square root of 36. What is the square root of 36? Do you see anything that I can further simplify? There's a whole bunch of 6's up there, so what do you think I can simplify?
Cancel out the 6.
Which 6's?
Go on outside of the radical.
That one with that one. All right, I want y'all to try D for me. Okay, phone break. All right, got 10 more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and put it back up out of the way. All right, y'all go ahead and finish G if you need to finish G. No calculator. Okay, what do I multiply by? Square root of 3 on top and bottom. So tell me what the numerator is. Over, and square root of 9 changes to? Now what can be simplified here? 12 and the 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4 square roots of 3. Alright, I'm gonna skip down and I want to do one that looks like, I'm gonna do yeah, let me do P. I won't have to do a little scratch work since I'm not using my calculator. Alright, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna multiply by 9 square roots of 12. Okay, outside times outside. 2 times 9 is 18. Now I'm gonna do 18 times 12. 216. Make sure that's right. 36, 18. Okay. Now, outside times outside, 9 times 9 is 81. Square root of would you agree that square root of 144 is 12?
Isn't that 81, not just 8?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. 9 times 9, I think I said 81, but I wrote down 8. Alright, so I've got 18 square root of 216 over 81 times 12. No, 72, sorry. Now, what do you think we need to do here? And you're not gonna have one this hard tomorrow, I promise. What do you think we need to do?
Divide 972 by 18 to see if you can.
Yeah, let's see if we can get rid of that. So. Four. Yeah, 4 will, 5 should. Times, I do believe. So that's going to be over 54. Now, what else do you think we need to do?
Square root of 216.
Yeah, check the square root of 216. This is going to get long. That'll be 2 and 108, 2 and 54, 2 and 27, 3 and 9, 3 and 3. I'm just simplifying at this point. And I told you there won't be one this long or hard tomorrow. I just want you to have the gist of it. So I have a pair of 2s. I have a pair of 3s. What has to stay home?
2 and 3.
Okay. So what goes on the outside? 6, because I multiplied 2 times 3. What stays home? 6 over 54. What else do you see now I can do?
54 by 6.
Yep, square root of 6 over 9. That's your final answer. Now, let me say it one more time. You will not have one this hard on your quiz tomorrow. Let me
go back over things. Whatever is in the denominator, you multiply top and bottom. Outside times outside, inside times inside. Outside times outside, inside times inside. 144 is 12, and all I've done now is simply multiplication, division, and then I factored the 216, and then further simplified. Okay? So, I want you to do, now everybody look on page 20, because there seems to be some confusion. If I said number 5 left column, which letters would you do? A, E, I, M. So you want to do number 5 left column. And I did A for you. So number 5, E, I, M. Okay? Now, the next ones that you're going to have, and I'm not going to spend time going over these right now, is turn to page 25. You will have ones like number 3, A, G, H, I.
Which one is that?
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay, turn to page 26. And I've got to go over one more time. Let's look at number 7, page 26, number 7. I'm going to do D. No, I'll take that back. I'm going to do E. Don't like D. Not what I want. All right. So 4y times 2y equals 8 to the 120. Now, let me tell you what this is not. This is not 8 to the 2y. How did I get that? How did I get the 8 to the 2y?
You multiply 4 to y, add the y's.
Okay, because I know this rule, if you have bases, you multiply bases, you add exponents. So I multiplied my bases and I added my exponents. So what did I do wrong?
Not the same base.
Yes, they have to be like bases. The rule is when you multiply like bases, then you add exponents. That's why this one is wrong. My base here is what? What's my first base? 4. My second? So those are not alike, right? So I have to change one to look like the other. Okay? I have to change one to look like the other. So which one is in the simplest form? 2. So I have to change the 4. Now, if my rule is I have to get like bases, then I have to change 4 to a base of 2. What's another way I can rewrite 4 with a base of 2? 2 squared raised to the y. Now, the next rule is raising a power to a power. Is this first two, is this gonna be 2 to the 2 plus y? Is that right? What's wrong with it? All right, when you raise a power to a power, you do what? So 2y times 2 to the y equals 8 to the 120. Now do I have like bases? So I can do this. Is that right?
I know it's 2.
It should be 2 to the 3y. When you multiply like bases, so that's another common mistake. You multiply the bases. Now, if I had x squared times x squared, y'all would tell me x to the 4th. You would keep the base the same. Have to do the same thing here. So that's 2 to the 2y times 2 to the y. When I multiply like bases, I add exponents. 2y plus 2y is 3y. Do you see another base that I can change? 8. So 8 can be changed to 2 to the 3rd. It's just like a dollar bill. How many ways are there to rewrite a dollar bill? A dollar bill can be known as 100 cents, 4 quarters, 10 dimes, 20 nickels, right? So, it's just the same way. If we write $1 as all those ways, we can write 8 as 2 to the 3rd. When I raise a power to a power, I do what? Multiply. Now, when my bases are alike, I can set my powers equal. Okay, I'm going to show you another one that works very similarly because, guys, the pure math is all about application. Okay? You might have to use your calculator on one that looks like this, but I'm just going over it. Okay, I'm multiplying bases, but are they alike? So which one can I change? The 9. So 3 to the 2x, the 9 becomes what? 3 squared to the when I raise a power to a power, I do what? So that becomes 3 to what? 2x plus 2. Don't forget to distribute with that. Now, what's my base going to be? 3. What am I going to do about these? Add them. So that becomes now, this cannot be done without a calculator. So we would have to do this one with a calculator. But what could I do? This is in what form? Exponential. I want to change it to log. So log base 3. What goes next? Equals. You would do the log base 3, 15 on your calculator. Subtract 2, divide by 4. Okay. Probably need to pay really close attention to the one that we just did. Guess the one I erased. Okay? So recognize those. All right, so that gets you ready for your quiz tomorrow. Okay, so everybody's okay on that? Do some of those other works, and then somebody remind me tomorrow to go over that, and I'll answer any questions before the quiz.